Most people think they know Michael Jackson's story, the moonwalk, the glove, the screaming crowds. But Michael's life was much bigger than those famous moments. Behind the music was a kid who carried pressure his whole life, a man who changed pop culture forever, and someone the world often misunderstood. If the Michael movie really wants to tell the truth, it can't just show the highlights everyone already knows. There are certain moments in Michael's life that shaped who he became, and if the film ignores them, it completely misses the real story. So let's talk about 10 scenes the Michael movie absolutely must include, or it fails to capture the true Michael Jackson. Scene 1. The day the world met a 10-year-old superstar. If the Michael movie really wants to start the story the right way, it has to begin in Gary, Indiana, with a small kid who had no idea his life was about to change forever. Michael was only 10 years old when he stepped forward during a Jackson 5 performance and started singing "Who's Lovin' You?" And if you watch that performance today, you can actually see the moment people realize something special is happening. His voice wasn't just good for a kid, it was powerful, emotional, almost painful to listen to in the best way. That moment matters because it's the first time the world saw what Michael Jackson really was. Not just another child in a family group, but the center of it all. If the movie skips this moment, it misses the most important part of the story. Because before Michael Jackson became the king of pop, he was just a little boy standing on a stage and already singing like his soul had lived 100 years. Scene number 2. The night the moonwalk shocked the world. If the movie skips this moment, then honestly, it misses one of the most important nights in music history. In 1983, during the Motown 25 television special, Michael walked onto the stage wearing a black jacket, a single glove, and that famous hat. At that point, he was already successful. But what happened next turned him into something much bigger. When the music for Billie Jean started, the crowd was excited, but no one was ready for what they were about to see. Michael danced across the stage with perfect control, every move sharp and smooth. And then suddenly, he leaned back, slid across the floor, and did something the world had never seen before on television. The moonwalk. The audience completely lost their minds. People were screaming, jumping out of their seats, not believing what they had just seen. Even today, if you watch that moment, you can feel the energy in the room.
Damn! You can hear the crowd too.
That performance didn't just make headlines the next day, it changed Michael Jackson's entire career. Overnight, he wasn't just a pop star anymore. He became the biggest entertainer on the planet. And if the biopic wants to capture the moment Michael truly became the king of pop, this scene has to be there. Scene number 3. The moment Thriller changed music forever. Another scene the movie absolutely has to show is the moment Michael Jackson changed the entire music industry with Thriller. Today, it's easy to forget how crazy that era was, but in the early 1980s, music videos were still pretty simple. Michael wanted something completely different. When he started working on the Thriller short film, he wasn't thinking about a normal music video. He wanted to create something that felt like a real movie. Zombies, special effects, a full storyline, and one of the most iconic dance routines ever created. When it finally premiered, people didn't just watch it once. They kept replaying it again and again because no one had seen anything like it before. Suddenly, music videos weren't just promotion for songs anymore. They became events. And Michael was the one who pushed that change. Thriller didn't just become one of the most famous videos ever made, it helped turn the album into the best-selling album in music history. If the movie wants to show how Michael went from superstar to something even bigger, this scene is essential. Scene number 4. The Pepsi accident that changed everything. This is another moment the movie really shouldn't ignore, because it shows a side of Michael most people forget. In 1984, Michael was filming a Pepsi commercial with his brothers. The scene looked simple. He was supposed to dance on stage while fireworks exploded behind him, just like a concert. Everything was going fine until something went horribly wrong. The pyrotechnics went off too early, and suddenly Michael's hair caught on fire. For a few seconds, he didn't even realize what was happening while he kept dancing. But the flames were real, and the damage was serious. He suffered burns on his scalp and had to be rushed to the hospital. A lot of fans believe this moment changed many things in Michael's life. The injuries, the pain, the stress. It all started affecting him in ways the public didn't fully understand. What makes this scene important is that it reminds people that behind the superstar image was still a human being who could get hurt just like anyone else. If the biopic wants to show the turning points in Michael's life, this accident is one of them. Scene number 5. The night Michael bought the Beatles songs. This is a scene that would actually surprise a lot of people watching the movie, because most fans know Michael Jackson as the king of pop. But many don't realize he also made one of the smartest business moves in music history. In the mid-1980s, Michael ended up buying the publishing catalog that included hundreds of famous songs by the Beatles. Yes, the same Beatles songs written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. The story behind it is almost unbelievable. Paul McCartney had once explained to Michael how valuable music publishing could be. He told him that owning songs is where the real money is. Michael listened carefully, and a few years later, he bought the catalog himself. Suddenly, Michael Jackson owned the rights to some of the most famous songs ever written. It shocked the entire music industry. Some people admired the move because it showed how smart he was as a businessman. Others felt betrayed, especially Paul McCartney. But whether people liked it or not, the deal proved something important about Michael. He wasn't just an entertainer dancing on stage. He understood the business of music better than most artists at the time. And if the movie wants to show how powerful Michael really became during the 1980s, this moment deserves a place in the story. Scene number 6, the changing image. Another scene the movie really needs to show is the period when Michael's appearance started changing, because this is one of the most talked about parts of his life. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, fans began noticing that Michael looked different. His skin was getting lighter, his facial features were changing, and the media immediately started turning it into a huge story. Newspapers and TV shows were constantly asking the same question: what is happening to Michael Jackson? But what many people didn't understand at the time is that Michael was dealing with vitiligo, a skin condition that causes the loss of pigment in the skin. It can spread across the body and create uneven patches, which made it extremely difficult for him to maintain a consistent appearance on stage and in public. So while the world was making jokes and spreading rumors, Michael was actually dealing with a medical condition and intense pressure about how he looked. This moment matters for the story because it shows how quickly public opinion can turn. Scene number 7, the World of Neverland. Another scene the movie really needs to show is the creation of Neverland Ranch, because this place says a lot about who Michael Jackson really was. At the height of his fame, Michael bought a massive property in California and turned it into something that looked more like a dream than a home. There were amusement park rides, a small train, animals, movie theaters, even a zoo. It looked like a place built straight out of a child's imagination. But for Michael, Neverland wasn't just about luxury. It was his way of creating the childhood he felt he never had. Remember, he started performing when he was extremely young and spent most of his early life working instead of living like a normal kid. Many people who visited Neverland, especially children from charities and hospitals, described it as a magical place where they could forget their problems for a while. But at the same time, the world outside the gates didn't always understand it. Some people saw it as kindness, others saw it as strange. And that misunderstanding would eventually become one of the biggest controversies of Michael's life. Scene number 8, inside the mind of a musical genius. One scene the movie absolutely has to show is what Michael Jackson was really like inside the studio, because this is something many people still don't fully understand. Michael wasn't just a singer or a dancer. He was deeply involved in creating the music itself. When he worked on songs, he often built them piece by piece using only his voice. Producers who worked with him have said Michael would walk into the studio and start beatboxing the drums, humming the bass line, and singing the melody all at the same time.
Important to get
Okay. Okay. Let's listen to it back. Free them and run the digital back to 9.
Sending out.
He would record demo tapes where he performed almost every sound himself so the musicians could understand exactly what he wanted. You can hear this clearly in early demos of songs like Billie Jean and Beat It, where Michael is literally creating the rhythm, the groove, and the structure using just his voice. That level of creativity surprised even the best producers in the industry. They realized very quickly that Michael wasn't just performing songs, he was building them from scratch in his head. Showing this process in the movie would be powerful because it reveals the side of Michael most people never saw. The world saw the superstar on stage, but behind the scenes there was also a quiet perfectionist sitting in a studio chasing the exact sound he imagined. Scene number 9, Michael's Humanitarian Heart. Another scene the movie really needs to show is Michael's humanitarian side, because helping people was a huge part of who he was, even before the 1990s. During the 1980s, while he was breaking records and selling millions of albums, Michael was also quietly donating huge amounts of money to different causes. One of the biggest moments was in 1985, when he helped write the song "We Are the World" with Lionel Richie. The goal of the song was to raise money for famine relief in Africa. But that wasn't the only thing Michael did. Around the same time, he donated money to hospitals, children's charities, and organizations helping sick kids. When Michael won awards, he often used the moment to talk about helping others instead of talking about himself. For him, music wasn't just about fame or success. He believed it could actually make the world better. Showing this side of Michael in the movie would be important because it reminds people that behind the superstar image was someone who genuinely cared about people who were suffering. And for many fans, that kindness is one of the reasons his legacy still means so much today. Scene number 10, the most misunderstood man in the world. Another scene the film should really show is how Michael slowly became one of the most misunderstood people on the planet. By the early 90s, it felt like everything he did turned into a headline. Tabloids were constantly making fun of him. TV shows were mocking his appearance, and the nickname Wacko Jacko started spreading everywhere. The strange part is that many of the stories people believed were either exaggerated or completely twisted by the media. Rumors about oxygen chambers, sleeping in coffins, and bizarre behavior became bigger than the truth itself. Meanwhile, Michael was still doing the things he always cared about, like helping children's charities and trying to protect the privacy of his own kids. But the louder the rumors became, the more he seemed to pull away from the world. You could see it in his interviews and public appearances. The man who once dominated every stage now looked tired of being watched and judged all the time. This part of the story matters because it shows how fame can slowly turn into isolation. Some people still saw Michael as a genius and a kind-hearted person. Others only saw the strange headlines. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise was the real Michael Jackson, trying to live his life while the world argued about who he really was. Michael Jackson's life wasn't just about fame and music. It was filled with moments that shaped who he became, both as an artist and as a person. If the Michael biopic truly wants to tell his story, these are the kinds of scenes it has to show. Not just the superstar the world saw on stage, but the human being behind it all. Because only then can people really understand why Michael Jackson became more than just a performer. He became a legend.